An ancient legend has long been told in this valley. It is said that a mysterious being exists here, one that can lead to anywhere in the world. Because of this, a group of college students came here to travel and explore. As the bus drove to higher altitudes, the mountain fog grew denser. The slowly moving bus was soon engulfed in thick fog. At that moment, a boy on the bus suddenly saw a strange glowing object in the distance. For safety's sake, the driver stopped the bus. He went ahead to place a warning sign, planning to wait until the fog cleared before continuing. Even stranger, all of their phones suddenly lost signal. When the driver had just walked a short distance ahead, that eerie red glow suddenly lit up again. The flashing light frightened the driver, and he quickly ran back to the bus. Wanting to get out of there as soon as possible, the terrified driver had no choice but to drive everyone forward. But the bus hadn't gone far when a girl suddenly saw something terrifying. In horror, she begged the driver to stop immediately. Several black shadows were rushing straight toward the bus. The sudden appearance of these figures made the driver swerve sharply to avoid them, but that panicked maneuver caused the bus to tumble violently down the mountain. When everything finally went quiet, a girl named Elma slowly regained consciousness. She saw the rescue team working frantically to save lives. Then she passed out again. When Elma woke up again, she was already in the hospital. A woman in front of her asked her to get ready. She wanted Elma to look at her face and say who she was. But staring at the horribly scarred face, the girl seemed to have lost her memory. She couldn't remember who she was, nor who the person before her was. Fortunately, the woman who claimed to be her mother comforted her, telling her to rest and not to worry. But that very night, Elma was startled awake by a strange noise. Then she saw a strange shadowy figure appear before her, but it disappeared after a short while. Elma thought it was just a hallucination and didn't pay much attention. Over the next 2 days, Elma recovered quickly from her injuries and was soon ready to go home. That night, the boy who had survived with her came to visit, but he had lost one of his legs. He slowly walked to Elma's side and held her hand, but Elma had forgotten who he was. Helpless, the boy took out a photo of them together. He said his name was Tom and that he was her good friend. 3 other classmates were still in a coma. The rest had died in the valley, but a boy named Martin was still missing. The rescue team searched for a long time but couldn't find him. Elma said she couldn't remember anything. Without her memory, everything felt gone. Tom could only look at her helplessly. 2 more days passed like this, and then, that night, Elma was awakened once again by a strange noise. She suddenly saw a black shadow appear before her eyes. It slowly approached as Elma stared in fear. Then, someone who looked exactly like her appeared. By this time, Elma's injuries had healed and she returned home, but everything before her felt strange and unfamiliar. At that moment, the family dog ran down to greet her excitedly, but after sniffing her, it suddenly turned away, as if it no longer recognized its owner. Fortunately, with her parents' guidance and reassurance, Elma finally settled down. Bored, Elma picked up a ball of yarn to play with the dog, but the dog seemed indifferent to the yarn she threw. But then it suddenly barked frantically at something nearby. At that moment, the red thread in Elma's hand suddenly tightened. Frightened, she immediately let go. Elma hurried over to check and saw a strange sight. When night fell, Elma planned to drink some water to ease her stress, but she noticed the yarn still lying on the table. The dog kept barking furiously. As Elma prepared to go outside and check, the yarn that had been on the table suddenly vanished. When she turned her head, she saw it tied to the nearby doorknob. Elma ran her hand along the taut red thread. It felt as though someone was guiding her. So Elma followed the red thread upstairs. She saw the dog still barking at something unseen. When Elma walked into the room, she found the other end tied to a photograph. She quickly took down the photo to examine it. In it, besides her and 2 others, there was also a woman who looked exactly like her. Just then, her parents came in after hearing the noise. From her father's words, Elma learned that this was her sister, and that her sister had died of illness 6 months ago. Because the 2 of them were very close, her parents hadn't told her after she lost her memory, but Elma said she had seen her sister at the hospital. Her parents, upon hearing her strange words, thought her memory was confused and comforted her. Elma browsed through old photos and belongings, trying to help herself recall her past. But as she looked at these things, Elma felt a sense of familiarity, but still couldn't remember. At that moment, the strange sound came again. Ever since she learned about her sister, Elma believed it was a signal from her. But just as she turned her head, her sister suddenly rushed at her. Elma couldn't understand what this meant. To find out what her sister was trying to say, she made a simple communication device with the red thread. She placed one end in her own room and the other in the cabin where her sister often stayed. When she had finished setting it up, she explained to the air that they could use it to communicate. When there was no response, Elma lay on her bed waiting for her sister's reply. But not long after, the little tin can for communication began to shake. When she put it to her ear, no sound came through. Elma asked aloud if her sister was there, but still, there was no answer. Just then, that eerie glow appeared again. The creepy sound scared Elma so much that she grabbed a carving knife nearby. She felt this time the presence seemed hostile, and she wasn't sure if it was even her sister. So she shouted, demanding it show itself. But suddenly, her arm was forced under control. Before Elma could react, the figure lunged at her. At the critical moment, Elma's parents suddenly rushed in, and the shadow immediately vanished. To figure out what was really happening, she turned to Tom, who had also survived the crash. She tried to get some answers from him, because she, Tom, her sister, and a girl named Doa had been very close. But since Tom had been unconscious during the accident, he didn't know exactly what had happened. So Elma asked him about their past together, and she discovered something strange from home videos. Her sister had once said as a child that she could see mysterious beings. At the time, everyone thought she was just making up stories. But now Elma could see them too. Tom was stunned, and he began telling Elma about their past experiences. A long time ago, Elma's twin sister Zora often said she could see spirits. The others were curious about what they looked like. Zora said they looked like light shining through glass, and when she saw them, she felt no fear at all. At the time, the others thought it was just an interesting story, so they didn't take it seriously. And because they were so close, they often traveled together. One night when they were camping, Tom was awakened in the middle of the night by a noise. He got up and saw Zora talking continuously to someone. Driven by curiosity, Tom shone his flashlight over, and at that moment, he saw the spirit that Zora had spoken of. Tom said he asked Zora about it, but Zora seemed not to know who it was either. They thought it wouldn't affect their peaceful lives. But then Zora suddenly learned she had a terminal illness, so she began collecting and searching for information about spirits, hoping to find the power to keep herself alive. They often went together to a library. It was said to have many books on the subject. The librarian, Aurora, was very fond of Zora. She also told them a legend. It was said there was a six-sided mirror in the world. It could help people explore their past lives and future. Long ago, there was a chosen woman. People called her the prophet. She often entered it to foresee the future. One day, the six-sided mirror gave her a terrifying vision. It revealed that some shadows from the darkness could use human bodies to gain immortality. They sought to free their master, Tryon, and they relentlessly searched for suitable vessels. The prophet was terrified by this knowledge, for even this place would one day be destroyed. An elder beside her said that if she accepted her destiny, she could stop it all, and he placed a rune around the girl's neck. That girl was, in fact, Aurora herself, but she never admitted her identity. Instead, she told them that if they could find the mirror, perhaps Zora could solve her problem. And so, they set off on a journey to find the six-sided mirror. Following the clues, they climbed into the mountains. First, they saw a strange black stone. Then, guided by the runes carved upon it, they arrived at a cave. Sure enough, as described in the book, inside was an abandoned castle. After much searching, they still couldn't find the legendary mirror. When night fell, they had to camp outside again. That night, Tom woke up to find Zora missing. He rushed into the underground castle, and there, he saw that the so-called gate was the six-sided mirror. Inside, Zora's miserable cries could be heard. As Tom stood frozen in fear, the mirror surface opened. Tom quickly rushed over to support Zora, but Zora told him that what she had seen was indeed true. But she warned him never to let Elma and Doa enter, for finding answers came with a heavy price. Although Zora didn't find a way to keep herself alive, she did uncover a terrifying secret, that some dark spirits were gaining immortality through humans. At the time, Zora didn't know what it meant, and with her worsening illness, she came to accept her fate. In her final days, she only wanted to spend time with her friends. After Tom finished telling everything, Elma suddenly asked how her sister had really died. Tom said it was the cancer that took her, but Elma insisted that wasn't true. Because she had lost her memory, she suspected that before losing her memory, she had ended her sister's life. That was why her sister now wanted to kill her. Seeing Elma grow more and more agitated, Tom quickly stepped forward to comfort her. Just then, the eerie shadow appeared again. Elma immediately kept apologizing to the shadow, but the shadow only gave her a cold glance before disappearing. Convinced she had caused her sister's death, Elma told Tom that she must find the legendary six-sided mirror again to see if it could help her sister. And so, the two set out once more for the underground castle. But as the car drove along, fragments of memory from before the crash suddenly flooded Elma's mind. At the same time, another car sped past them. The bus driver slammed hard on the brakes. The sudden jolt knocked Elma unconscious. When she suddenly opened her eyes, she saw scenes from just before the crash. She saw Elma and her classmates in front suddenly turn to look at her and realized that she herself was actually Dua, Elma's best friend. Dua looked at her own hands in horror and screamed for the bus to stop. And it was then that the crash suddenly happened. She woke up again. The girl seemed to remember everything. She screamed frantically, telling the driver to stop. Then, ignoring Tom's shouts, she quickly ran away. She realized she was never Elma at all, but the girl named Dua among them. Now let us return to the moment of the crash. As the bus was surrounded by thick fog, Dua on the bus kept shouting for it to stop. Elma turned to look at her, and just then, the black shadows rushed toward the bus. This sudden scene sent the entire bus tumbling down the mountain. When everything finally went quiet, most of them had died in the crash, and the souls of the dead were separated from their bodies. They watched everything in confusion, as if they couldn't understand what had happened. Fortunately, not long after, their departed loved ones suddenly appeared, as if to guide them away. Beside them, Elma struggled for a moment, then her soul separated as well. Next to her, Dua tearfully told her that her body had been crushed. Just then, Tom on the bus was crying out loudly for help, but he couldn't see any of their souls. When Elma walked toward him, Tom thought he saw a beam of light, but then she fainted. At the same time, Elma's deceased sister appeared. She reached out her hand to take Dua away, but Dua asked, "What about Elma?" Zora told her that Elma's time had not yet come. She urged Dua to leave quickly, warning that if she didn't, it might soon be too late. But Dua didn't leave. As Zora faded away, strange shadows quickly rushed in. They were likely the wandering spirits of the dead, seeking to use human bodies as vessels to be reborn. They sniffed the air, searching for those near death. One of the shadows seemed to have found one. It dove straight into the person's body. Perhaps over time, it would devour the weakened soul and take over the body. This terrifying sight clearly shocked Elma and Dua. Seeing more and more people possessed by shadows, the two of them were horrified. But the boy named Martin had not died. Though he couldn't see the souls, he could see the eerie shadows. When the last shadow chased after him, Martin fled in panic until he accidentally fell into a crevice, and the shadow shifted its focus. It turned toward Elma. At the critical moment, Dua's soul rushed into Elma's body, driving away the sinister shadow. The next second, Elma suddenly appeared in the hospital. It turned out that it was Dua, reborn through her body, who had been brought there. Although Elma didn't understand what had happened, when she reached out and called, she was transported to another place. Before her, a huge red symbol appeared in the sky. It seemed to guide Elma forward. Meanwhile, Dua, reborn in the borrowed body, had lost her memory. She lived temporarily as Elma until she finally remembered everything. At this time, Elma's soul followed the guidance to a pile of strange stones. She followed the red glow all the way, entering a strange formation made of stones. But after circling it, she couldn't understand what it was. Just then, fragments of memory suddenly appeared beside her. The girl, seeing such familiar scenes, stepped right into them. She saw herself and her sister as little children, the family happily watching TV together at home. Her sister Zora suddenly sensed something. She turned her head toward Elma. Elma quickly asked if her sister could see her, but young Zora didn't answer. Instead, she told their mother, who was recording, that she saw a strange spirit. The mother asked her to describe what it looked like. Zora held up a glass of water in the sunlight and said it was like a refraction of light. Clearly, the family didn't believe her. Elma hadn't expected her sister could see her when she was little. She was about to speak when she was suddenly pulled into another space. There, the red light guided her once more to a place. When she walked in, she found it was the place where they had once camped while searching for the mirror. Her sister seemed troubled, waiting for her. Elma quickly ran over to speak with her, but her sister couldn't hear her. At the same time, Tom's flashlight shone over. Elma was once again pulled into another space. By now, Dua, living in her body, had returned home. Since she had lost her memory, Elma stepped forward and picked up the red yarn. Though this act brought her great strain, she still wanted to remind Dua who she was. So she wound the red thread bit by bit around her room, finally fastening it onto Dua's face in their group photo. But when Dewa came, she couldn't understand what it meant. Instead, she mistook Elma for Zora. When Elma realized this, she was pulled into yet another strange place. As Elma was about to leave, she suddenly saw a vision of the future. She saw Dewa being attacked by a man. Elma watched in horror and decided to help Dewa, so she appeared directly inside the cabin, where the red thread for communication was still tied. Elma tugged the red string hard, and it caught Dewa's attention. Seeing Dewa pick up the can, Elma used all her strength and said,
"Dewa, be careful. They're going to kill you. I'm not afraid of you. Leave me alone."
After a long search for the truth, Dewa finally realized who she truly was. But if she gave Elma her body back, she herself would disappear from the world. So Dewa hesitated. She didn't know whether to give up this new hope. Alone, she returned to her old home. She wanted to tell the truth to her real mother, but her mother didn't believe a word she said. She had seen Dewa's body destroyed in the crash, and the girl before her seemed mockingly to claim she was her daughter. The woman grew furious. Her grief was once again inflamed. She shouted angrily at Dewa. No matter how Dewa explained, no matter how she revealed secrets only the two of them knew, the woman refused to believe. In the end, in despair, she even slapped her. She cried that she had already lost her daughter and asked why she had to be hurt again. Just then, a man suddenly appeared. When Dewa saw him, she suddenly told her mother that she should not be with this man. Then she left, filled with anger. And in that moment, she made her final decision. Dewa first went to Elma's house and found her parents. She told them what had happened before Zora's death, that perhaps she had ended Zora's life early, which was unfair to Zora's family, but she didn't reveal her own identity. Instead, she went back to her room and sent her mother a video she had saved. Yes, the man she had seen at home was her stepfather, and this man had brought Dewa endless suffering. When Dewa's mother opened the video, it first showed Dewa playing the guitar, but soon, her stepfather walked in. Then, to her mother's shock, the stepfather committed a vile act. This instantly made her mother break down. She never imagined the man beside her had treated her daughter this way. She grabbed a pair of scissors and went after the man, and unleashed her furious revenge. Meanwhile, Dewa arrived at the cabin. She wanted Elma to come out and talk, but no matter what she said, Elma didn't appear. Just then, the family dog suddenly barked. It turned out the stepfather had come. He thought Elma had sent the video to Dewa's mother, so he dragged his injured body there to confront the girl. He lied, claiming Dewa had staged everything, trying to seize the phone containing the video. But what he didn't know was that the girl before him was Dewa herself. Dewa furiously told him that she would send the video to everyone, even the police. Those words enraged the man. The man attacked her. He first slammed Dewa onto the floor. Then he grabbed her throat and choked her hard. Soon, Dewa lost consciousness. Elma, rushing in, suddenly saw this scene. She immediately lunged forward and shoved the man away, and the man froze in shock at what he saw. When Elma's strength gave out, Dewa's soul appeared once more. Under the man's terrified gaze, she hurled herself at him, knocking him down the stairs. And with the death of her stepfather, Dewa completed her redemption. She told Elma, lying on the ground, that she had never meant to steal her life. She only wanted to protect her. At that moment, Zora's spirit suddenly appeared too. She said Elma still had a bright future ahead, and that they had to help her return. With their help, Elma finally returned to her own body. Perhaps true friendship doesn't change. Even in life and death, whether needed or not, it will always remain. And with that, the film ends.